Well, good afternoon, everybody. This is, I guess, what you could call Commando TV.
This is definitely an impromptu newscast this afternoon. Just to let you know, we are outside of our NBC 29 studios because our generator has run into a problem here. And so we, like you all out there, have run into electrical problems down phone lines. It's just been one mess after another, I think, for a lot of folks.
Or no electric at all, which is a lot of what people in Albemarle County and Charlottesville and points everywhere of our viewing area are having to deal with this morning. So we're right in the thick of things with you, but we're trying to bring you some important information during this next hour. We're going to have representatives from the city of Charlottesville, from Albemarle County, and we're going to take some look at some videotape that ran overnight to show you what the conditions are. We'll be talking to folks who have been out in the area and telling us what the road conditions are like. So we'll try to bring you some helpful information in this next hour. It's going to be a little bit different, so bear with us, but it might be interesting all the same.
That's right. What time did your electricity go out last night?
My electricity, I think, went out around 10 o'clock. I live in the Pantops area of Charlottesville, and I didn't hear my air purifier making this large droning sound
your
last
white
night.
noise, right?
Exactly. So it got really quiet, and then I think that's what woke me up. And I noticed the electricity was off, and it's still off. I went back and checked it, and still no electricity in a lot of the Charlottesville area, Albemarle County area.
That's right. And I think that's the case throughout the NBC 29 viewing area. In fact, throughout the state, at one point there was 1.6 million Virginians without electricity, and I know the electric crews are out there, out and about, trying to get the electricity back and up and running. And as we mentioned earlier this morning, officials said too that if at all possible to stay put at home and to let them clear the down power lines. There are a lot of down power lines on roadways, secondary roads and yards, that sort of thing. So it can help to let them get in and do their job, and then we can get the electricity back up and running as soon as possible.
Not only about that, but a lot of the stoplights in at least Charlottesville and Albemarle County are either completely out, or they're flickering, or some are working. So a lot of people are approaching intersections and not knowing exactly what to do. So that's a danger in and of itself. So be very careful if you have to go out, but if you don't have to go out, it's best to stay in your house today.
That's right. And if by chance your electricity was out last night and you could only see what was happening around your neighborhood, well, our Dave Bagnoni was out and about yesterday as the storm was entering central Virginia in the Shenandoah Valley, and we take a look now at what he found out.
At 6:30 at UVA, as students run to get dinner, they have to avoid another fallen tree. Already, the ground is so saturated, it can hold more water. At 6:45 on Ivy Road, a puddle takes up half the street. Down the block, a tree takes up half the entrances at the Cavalier Inn. At 7 p.m., parts of Charlottesville become a black hole. On West Main Street, traffic lights are out, dangling in wind gusts of 30 miles an hour. And as all this is happening, fire and rescue personnel are scrambling across the city. For some, the night is just beginning, just like Isabel.
We have 8 ambulances staffed down here now, plus both rescue squad vehicles and numerous other vehicles that are able to respond.
Finally, at 9:30, most roads are pretty much undrivable. Now flooding is the biggest concern.
That was Dave Bagnoni bringing us that story, and the rivers, many rivers, creeks, and streams, whatnot, around the viewing area are still just right at crest stage. And you know, if you're driving along and you see some standing water, you're not familiar with the lay of the land, don't try to drive through it. Find another route around it, because you don't know how deep it might be.
That's right. And just one more electric note. In Dave's package there, he was talking with a lot of emergency officials, and Dominion Virginia Power has specified that they are providing power to hospitals first. I mean, obviously to give them the first top priority to get electricity restored to them. So again, I mean, just to be patient. They want folks to be patient because they need to get the hospitals and then make sure that they're good to go.
Well, I went on a little bit of a trek this morning after the morning show was over, because as usual my stomach was grumbling, so I wanted to go looking for food, as I usually do in the morning. And I left our studios on East Market Street in Charlottesville, drove down Main Street toward the University of Virginia. Just about all the lights were off. Power was out all around that area. Got to the rotunda area of the University of Virginia, and there was a huge tree. I mean, it it has to be, 250 years old. Well, it had been completely uprooted, and I guess we'll probably be getting some video of that to bring you a little bit on our evening newscast, but that's certainly a loss for the university because it was a beautiful tree. But that's down, many trees in the area down, no doubt about that. Drove around through Barracks Road, no electricity. So it was a difficult time finding anything that's open. A lot of people have been looking for places to go for lunch, whatnot, and there's nothing open. So I think you are hearing our generator come back on.
This is a good sound. We love this sound. This is the generator roaring. We see the smoke going, so this means that we will soon be good to go on air inside the studios. But again, just to let you know too that we're outside of Signet Galleries in downtown Charlottesville for this impromptu newscast because initially our generator wasn't working, so we were down, so we had to make do with what we had, and we can hear it roaring.
It is roaring. That is a lovely sound to us, that's for sure. When I got into the station this morning, that's what I heard walking from a couple of blocks away. A lot of people are really suffering through this. There was a lot of water that fell yesterday. A lot of people who have basements in the viewing area are having a very difficult time. Dave Vagnoni went out last night, and he has some perspective on what some local folks are trying to deal with in the aftermath of Hurricane Isabel.
Outside, but inside, cleanup is only beginning. Brad Clore just finished pumping 4 inches of water from his basement.
And luckily, a friend of ours had a generator. Otherwise, we'd be in a lot worse condition than what we are right now.
Back outside, Brad's yard is a swamp. Parts of his neighborhood are flooded. By 3 o'clock, there's no more flooding in Albemarle County on Route 53. The high water that was here is given way to one lonely bulldozer clearing debris. Up the road, even in a drizzle, water gushes down a hill. Trees and power lines are on the ground. Leaves look like they're glued to the street. Miles in the other direction, back in the city, some streets remain closed. But it could have been a lot worse.
At this moment, we do have a number of trees and power lines down throughout the city. We have no major roads blocked, but there are a number of side streets and residential areas that are blocked.
Well, there's a definite mess out there. I know Brad Clore used to work here at the station, and I'm sure he's very disappointed that his new basement that he was just working on is flooded now, but he's certainly not alone. A lot of people are having to deal with cleanup this morning.
That's right, and not only in central Virginia, but in the Shenandoah Valley as well. Earlier this morning, 50% of the Shenandoah Valley residents were without power, and downtown Waynesboro is flooded. And I think we have video from this morning from Ken Slack. He was out and about all night long covering the flooding and the road closures in the Shenandoah Valley. And as we can see from this video, I mean, it's a mess in downtown Waynesboro.
That is right off of Main Street in downtown Waynesboro. And Tim Spears' music, for those who are familiar with the downtown Waynesboro area, was basically under like 4 inches of water inside. So the folks in the downtown area are really having to put up with a lot, but they seem to be pretty good spirited from what we understand, and they're dealing with it and they're getting through it. And fortunately, in Waynesboro, we don't hear of any serious injuries, so that's one good thing. At least it's just an inconvenience at this point in time.
Right, and a lot of folks in the Stanton area, Lyndhurst and Grottoes, had to evacuate because of the rising floodwaters there and to leave their area, and that's a problem that they deal with time and time again.
It certainly is. Well, let's get a little perspective on what we're dealing with weather now. We know that hurricane or tropical storm Isabel or whatever it turned into has departed us, thankfully. Well, bye-bye. She's up in Pittsburgh or something like that now. So let's get our old buddy Norm Sprouse in on this. And Norm, tell us a little bit what's going on right now in weather.
Oh, gee whiz. Boy, I could probably go for the next 45 minutes talking about weather. Oh, I bet you would. As far as our current situation, there is some cloudiness across central Virginia to the Shenandoah Valley, and some of those clouds have been producing some light rain showers. But don't get too upset about it, because we're looking at maybe another 1/4 of an inch of rain, not much more than that. But we did get some very interesting rainfall totals from some of our weather watchers and from some automated gauges across the region. Let's see. Dave, Governor Churchill got over 3 inches of rain. Stephanie Summers in Scottsville, about 3.5 inches of rain. Clayton Towers in Bridgewater had over 4 inches of rain. Down to Mount Rush, almost 4 inches of rain. Ruckersville, 5 inches. Fort Union, 3 inches. Orange, 3.42 inches. Fishersville, almost 6 inches worth of rain. Let's see, some other notes.
Don't need much more. I mean, we were already well above the level that, our rain level, right?
That's true for the month date. We are now, according to our rain gauge, because our rooftop rain gauge here at NBC 29 picked up over 5.5 inches of rain yesterday, which brings our month-to-date total to 8 and 68/100ths month-to-date total, which is about, I think, about 6 inches above normal. And for a year-to-date, we're 26, almost 27 inches ahead of moisture. We were almost that far behind last year, so we've made about a 40-inch swing as rain goes over the course of the winter. Now, as far as some automated gauges, there you go. The big winner from the automated gauges department seems to be over around the Shenandoah area, where we've got the reports of 8, 9, 10 inches worth of rain, which is one of the reasons they had all the flooding in downtown Waynesboro, but that seems to have crested. It is beginning to drop. We expect the Rivanna and Palmyra to drop as the day goes on, and the James and the Bremo will be dropping, as will the James right around Scottsville. And let's see here. You can take that one. There you go. Got to organize all this. So as far as the rest of the day goes, oh yeah, bring back that weather computer, please. 69 degrees, the current temperature. Barometric pressure is rising. We're expecting maybe as much as 78 for a high today. We're expecting a little bit of sunshine later on this afternoon after this wraparound moisture associated with Isabel finally scoots out of here. Westerly breezes today about 25 miles an hour, but then tonight partly cloudy. Lows will be dropping down to about 58 with westerly breezes 10 to 15. Then for Saturday and also Sunday, both sides of the Blue Ridge Mountains looking at partly sunny skies and mid-70s. Same thing into Monday, possibly Tuesday. Could see some other showers sneaking in here late Tuesday into Wednesday. So the major problems this afternoon will be just a little bit of lingering rain shower activity, the flooding in the normally low-lying areas. So the places that normally would pick up 5 or 6 inches of rain and then flood, that's where we're having the same problems as usual. Bremo, Scottsville, probably down toward Columbia as well, the Rivanna, Palmyra, and other locations like that, the low-lying areas that normally get it.
Good news, the sun is going to come out soon, right? And for the weekend, so for the cleanup, yeah.
I think it goes tomorrow, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think you want me to sing.
Oh, come on, that's just a little bit.
Maybe later.
Okay, now there are a lot of events that have been scheduled for both sides of the Blue Ridge Mountains going on this weekend. At this point in time, we haven't heard about cancellations of those events. You may want to get in touch with some of the organizations that are having the events that you know of to find out if they're canceled. And we invite them to let us know here at NBC 29, and we'll get the information out as well.
Okay, thank you very much, Norm. Well, we have Albemarle County spokesperson Lee Catlin also standing by, and she has been with us during the week here and yesterday, in fact, to give us an update on what the county was doing to prepare for Hurricane Isabel, and now it's a matter of what are we doing for the cleanup, right?
Well, as you mentioned, last night we were very definitely in an emergency response mode, primarily from about 5 o'clock until midnight. We were really hopping. We had an emergency operations center set up over at the 911 center. They responded to about 550 calls by midnight, which is about triple their usual load. We had police, fire, rescue folks all there doing a coordinated response to activities. Now we've shifted into a recovery and an assessment mode. So this morning, again, we gathered people together over at Deemer Hall at UVA from the city, Albemarle County, and UVA, fire, rescue, parks and rec, social services, health department, all the people that are very necessary for the cleanup and recovery piece. And that is really what we're focusing on today.
And we were mentioning earlier, overnight, there was a fatality, and was this due to the weather, due to the hurricane?
We did unfortunately have a very sad situation down in the Scottsville area. A father and his son in a truck. They went off the side of the road, overcorrected, and came back into a tree. And we do believe that it was weather related. Fortunately, that's the only serious incident that we had. Last night we did have 2 water rescues. Actually there was a woman who was in her vehicle, got carried about 100 yards downstream, got on the top of her vehicle, was yelling for help. Fortunately, somebody heard and called, and a police officer was there. The rescue team from the rescue squad was able to help her. We had another vehicle that we had to get people out of. We had somebody in the tree that we had to rescue. So a lot of scary, but fortunately, except for the one very sad circumstance in Scottsville, a pretty fortunate evening for this community.
Right. And I know that you said you're just in the process of assessing the damage and that sort of thing. So can you give an estimate as to when maybe even some folks will see power, or which part of Albemarle County was the hardest hit from the storm?
You know, it's one of those things where the damage just seemed to be kind of random and widespread. There's no one particular area. We have heard from the power company, as you mentioned, they're focusing on some real priority areas first. They think it could be several days before some people are up. It's certainly complicated by the fact that the power lines are entwined with the trees, and trying to get one done and then the other done has been really complicated for people. One thing that's very important for people in the community is that they assess damage in their own area and call our information line, which is 979-INFO, because what that does is it allows us to qualify for federal funds from FEMA and also state funds for cleanup efforts. So people need to spend some time taking a look around, calling, assessing, and categorizing and documenting their damage and letting us know what it is so we can then be available for funds that'll help the community come back.
Good. I know. Well, thank you so much, Lee, for joining us this afternoon, and good luck with everything.
Thank you. You all too.
Thanks.
Thank you, Lee. He's always one of those folks that you can certainly count on to be there to get the information out for Albemarle County, and I believe we're going to be joined by Maurice Jones, her counterpart for the city of Charlottesville, and he'll fill us in on a little bit more about what is going on in the city proper as far as cleanup efforts and power and issues like that.
Well, as all this week we were talking about the tracking of Hurricane Isabel and how it was scheduled to hit the coast of North Carolina first, with a vengeance. And so we've seen some of the damage that it's done in Central Virginia and the Shenandoah Valley, but a lot of the folks in North Carolina, especially the Outer Banks, sustained a lot of damage. And we go now to Michelle Franzen from Kill Devil Hill.
As long as he's healthy, and safe, that's all that matters.
I do know that they have asked for patience because there are a lot of customers without power.
What folks had to deal with in Kill Devil Hills, North Carolina, as Hurricane Isabel roared ashore.
That's right, and the state of North Carolina, in addition to Virginia, both have been declared a federal disaster area. So we in Virginia and North Carolina will be receiving federal funding to help clean up the mess. But they did get hit the hardest. I mean, you can just see from some of the video the rising waters. That folks there who didn't evacuate were in pretty dire need to evacuate there.
Well, I guess Category 2 hurricanes don't roar ashore in the Outer Banks that often, and when they do, they can certainly be devastating. No doubt about that. We also want to tell you some other parts of the viewing areas. I conveniently pull out a piece of paper here. We've got some information out of Orange County I want to quickly pass along to you. The Orange County Emergency Services are telling us right now that in Orange County, 35 roads are closed. That was at 10:15 this morning, which is the latest information they had on the check of things. Mine Run and Locust Grove, those areas have been the hardest hit. Some structural damage in some homes around the Lake of the Woods area. Route 20 at Somerset is underwater, so if you have to travel that area, obviously you want to find another means of getting around there. And Route 231 at 655 is underwater also. So I guess it can't be stressed enough, if you're going to be headed out and driving, if you have to, if you come into any standing water and you're not familiar with the road, try to go around another area because you don't know how deep that is. And as Lee Catlin was just telling us, you can get swept away like that one woman did. Fortunately, she was rescued, but it can be very dangerous.
That's right, and that reminds me of a story we heard this morning where Harrisonburg officials were in a search and rescue mission for 3 canoeists who, after the rain had let up a little bit, they thought it was, somewhat safe to go into Black's Run, and so they ventured out thinking it would be, an exciting canoe trip. Unfortunately, the canoe capsized, and one of the canoeists, they did recover his body this morning, and but again, it was just, they thought here it had let up a little bit, safe to go in, and not the case.
We hear this time and time again. I think a lot of younger people think it's a real rush to go down the river when it's like raging. That is the most stupid thing anybody could possibly do.
Right.
So don't think you're going to get out on a creek or a river today in a canoe or an inner tube or anything like that, because that is a good way to get yourself killed. So don't do that. Beth, who do you have over here?
We have Jay Ergo here. Let me move the mic over here, Jay, and another lucky one who can join us out here. Hey there, Jay. Jay, tell us, what area in the viewing area do you live in, and how
Right.
did the storm affect your area?
Well, we were very fortunate. I live in Nelson County in Davis Creek, which was one of the areas that was very hard hit during Camille. About 52 people in Davis Creek lost their lives that night. We really came out pretty well, Beth. There were a few branches down on the road, a couple of trees that had already been cut up. A big oak tree by Oak Hill Baptist Church was over. The root ball had come right up. But generally speaking, except for small branches and debris, the roads were cleared. There was one fork of Davis Creek, Huffman's Hollow, which again was one of the places really devastated in Camille. I heard one of my neighbors couldn't get out because the road basically fords the creek there, but they're all right. They just can't get out. I'm sure they'll be able to get out later today. We were very fortunate. I'd say our rain totals were towards the lower end. We didn't have too many big wind gusts. There were definitely a couple of places on 24 where VDOT, on 29 where VDOT had gotten out and cut up some trees. My drive-in on 29 was smooth sailing.
That was good. Did you do anything in preparation for the storm? I mean, knowing how Nelson County 7 years ago had to deal with, with Nelson County in the past having to deal with Hurricane Camille and just the disaster that happened in Nelson County, or did you know of any residents there who were taking major precautions?
Well, most people, having been through that, most people aren't in areas where the water is going to rise up and actually take their house or anything like that. So we're all up off of the creek and so forth. Basically, just batteries and water, and being prepared for power to be out. My power went out at 4:15 yesterday, real early.
Right.
Came back on for about a half an hour. It's been out since. I understand the power is out in Lovingston this morning as of when I left my house. So you just have to be prepared to be without power for a while, which I am, and that's about it. That's a major inconvenience.
That's right.
We were lucky.
That's right, and at least, safe today, too. So thank you very much, Jay, for joining us.
Well, Jay is a rough and tumble kind of guy, so that's the only kind of behavior we can expect from Jay. No doubt about that.
That's right.
Yeah.
And
Somebody, old buddy of ours, Maurice Jones, has showed up. He's the spokesperson for the city of Charlottesville, and Mo, it is a kind of a daunting task for cleanup crews, and people are trying to get things back in order, isn't it?
It really is. Our public works crews and utility crews, of course, with Dominion Power and others, have been working since as soon as they could really go out and start working on getting the power lines cleared out, and of course the trees moved out of the roadways. They had to wait, first of all, until the hurricane subsided or the tropical storm subsided, and then I think Lee mentioned that a few minutes ago. With the mixture of the power lines and the trees, they really had to be careful about how they moved trees out of the roadway. So they really have been taking their time to get that done right and safely.
Have you all been given any kind of word from Dominion Virginia Power about how long it's going to take to get those who might be without power in Charlottesville restored?
No, the only thing that Dominion Virginia Power is doing right now, they have a lot of folks who are out working, but they're stressing patience at this point, and that's what we're stressing as well. It's one of the reasons that we really are asking people not to go out and travel around if they don't have to, primarily because there are a number of roadways that are still blocked by trees, but also because of the traffic lights. We have a number of traffic lights here in the city of Charlottesville and Albemarle County that are still out, and it's causing a lot of delays, and then also could cause some accidents if people aren't careful as they make their way around.
I know there's a lot of debris that has been knocked down by this storm. Do you have any recommendations for homeowners who might be out there? I mean, we saw Brad Clore, who's a city resident earlier, who had to deal with flooding. Is the city able to respond to folks who are having some structural damage to their homes, or what's the recommendation there?
Well, one of the things that we can do, and we're offering for folks, is to help them if they have had a tree that has gone into their house. They can give us a call. We can provide some assistance there. One of the other things that we're also providing in terms of cleanup is the opportunity for folks to have their debris picked up, their tree branches and other debris from the trees. Our public works folks will begin picking that up next Tuesday. So if folks have that out on their curbside by Tuesday, we'll come by and pick it up for free. But they have to have it out by 7 o'clock on Tuesday morning, or there's a possibility that it will not be picked up. And it's got to be on the curbside, not in the street, not in their yards, not on the sidewalk, right by the curb.
We're advising people to basically stay at home and not get on the roads, but if they do have to get out, public transit is an option. What's the situation with the City Transit Authority?
Unfortunately, today, public transit will not be an option, primarily because of the lights and the power outages that we have. It's just not safe to have CTS or UTS, the university system, out and moving about. We don't want to put any more vehicles out on the road than we have to. So CTS will not be running today. They are hopeful that if more of the lights are up and running tomorrow, that they will be able to operate tomorrow morning as scheduled.
Generally speaking, what is your assessment of things as far as the timeline of getting back to normal?
Well, it's going to be at least a couple of days. I don't think there's any question about that. I think we're helped out a little bit by the fact that we're going into a weekend. I think it would be much more difficult if this had happened on a Monday and we were dealing with the Monday, Tuesday during a business week. But fortunately for us, it's kind of happening on a weekend. So once again, you can take a 3-day weekend, not go out, and just enjoy yourself at home, and hopefully you've got power to relax a little bit and stay off the roads until everything's kind of cleared up.
Obviously, today for city employees, it's kind of a day off, but has any other scheduling been made for city employees at this point?
No decision has been made. It is a day off with the city government offices, but of course, with our emergency personnel, it certainly hasn't been. Yeah, they've been very busy for the last couple of days with our police department, fire department, and public works as well.
Okay, very good. Well, Maurice Jones, we always appreciate you coming by, and best of luck to those of you with the city, because it's a tough job, but as they say, someone's got to do it, right?
That is true, and we're proud to do it for the citizens of Charlottesville.
And you're an alumnus of NBC 29, so have you ever seen a situation like this?
Set. I love this set. And you guys, you have to get a dress code, by the way. Jay Ergo should not be allowed on this set like that. I'm sorry.
I understand totally. You know, we do the best we can with Jay.
Well, I do have to say, the coverage that you've done on this hurricane, on this storm, has been fantastic, and this is a testament to your commitment by having this noon show, knowing how important it is to get information out to your viewers. So we appreciate that as well.
All 90 people in the building certainly appreciate that, Mo. Well, listen, thanks for coming by. We do appreciate your time.
Take care.
Well, let me scoot on back over here. I believe we've got another person that we're going to check up on, and Sarah Drown has been taking a look at some things that are going on around the area.
That's right, and in particular in the Shenandoah Valley, and you've been on the phone all morning long. What can you tell us about the situation there?
Well, I just spoke with Patrick Flannery, who, as you know, is our newest Valley reporter. He's out and about this afternoon, specifically in Waynesboro, which did receive a lot of flooding last night. They were actually telling some people in the city that lived in some low-lying areas near the river to get out if they could.
Right.
So I just spoke to Patrick. He did say that the conditions have vastly improved this morning, so that is good news. Some of the streets, though, in downtown Waynesboro are blocked off just due to safety reasons. There's a little bit of water on the roadway. Specifically, he mentioned Broad Street, which is near Constitution Park in downtown Waynesboro. Another area of concern last night was southeastern Augusta County, areas like Sharando and Lyndhurst. They also experienced some flooding, and people were asked to evacuate if they could, go to a shelter or get with family members if they could. So that was another area of concern. Some good news is the power is back on in Waynesboro and in parts of Stanton, so that's good news for them. Hopefully they can see us, they can watch us. They're one of the few, I guess, that can watch us right now. Hopefully a lot more people can watch us. But
Absolutely.
Patrick was saying that traffic is back out. I mean, people are out on the roads in the safe areas that, of course, aren't blocked off. But he was saying that cars are venturing out now, and that the rain is still coming down in Waynesboro. He was saying specifically he can't speak to what's going on in Stanton or other areas of Augusta County. But he said the rain was still coming down, but certainly nothing like we saw last night. And the roads were getting cleared. Of course, trucks, crews all over the place in the valley working to get everybody safe, everybody out. I'm sure everybody just has cabin fever. Can't wait to get out. So things are definitely improving there. So that's good news.
You know, I think we're starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel. And when we saw the video earlier in the newscast here of the flooding in downtown Waynesboro, I mean, this morning it was a mess there. And so it's good news that Patrick's relaying to you that waters are starting to recede here, and then things are starting to clear up.
It definitely looks optimistic for that area. It was looking a little dangerous yesterday evening, late yesterday, around our 11 o'clock hour. So good news there, and hopefully everybody can get out.
That's right. And it's good news also that the power's back on, because as we mentioned too, at one point 50% of the Shenandoah Valley customers there didn't have power. So
the lights are slowly starting to come back on. So hang on, people.
Okay, and thank you, Sarah, for joining us, because we know that you have a lot of work to do with producing a live at 5 here and stuff, so we appreciate.
Right. We'll have the latest at 5. So thanks, Beth.
Thank you, Sarah.
I must have missed the memo on the hats.
No, yeah.
Everybody around here. Dave, you don't have the hat on, so
We'll get you a hat, okay? Your birthday's coming up,
That's
right?
right, I need a hat. Well, anyway, it's been kind of a hectic, I guess you could say even 48 hours for the viewing area in NBC 29, and it's coming along. Cleanup apparently is going along as scheduled, as we've heard from the city and county representatives and folks in the viewing area, so we're on the mend, as they say.
That's right. And also, I know that Norm had mentioned a website of weatherpics.com, if I recall. So if you have any pictures that, you know, the damage that you've experienced in your area, your neighborhood, if you want to relay that to us and send it to weatherpics.com, and it's okay, and it's weatherpics.com, and we can get that out there, because again, I mean, Dave Cupp is correcting me, and I best listen. Yeah, let me weatherpics at NBC29.com. There we go. Yes,
That's the official
we
word,
definitely want to make sure that we get that information out
And
there.
also, you can always log on to our website, NBC29.com, because we have a lot of useful links that you can get onto and find out about the latest information going on. So, you know, if you've got a computer and you've got electricity, that can be a good thing.
That's right, and I know that's a good thing today if you do have electricity at this point. So.
I think we have some electricity or something going on now. Our generator kicking on again.
That's their roar the generator again, and I think that'll do it for us at this point here. We thank you so much for joining us. Okay, and we're hearing a little bit here that for about 5 minutes we will go off the air just temporarily for 5 minutes while we get the generator up and running and getting all the systems in check. But then after that point, then we'll be back on air and we'll be providing you the latest updates.
That's right. We've got crews all over the area that are going to be bringing us the latest video, so we'll keep you up to date on road conditions, power conditions, and everything you need to know in the viewing area. So we hope to see you back here as soon as we come back on the air, which will be in about 5 minutes.
Thanks so much.